So for paneling tools, just like the 2D, there's also a 3D. 3D has basic as well as custom and custom variable as well. So let's start with the basic. To create a 3D panel with a pattern, you need to have two groups of grids. So as you can see, I've already done it here. One group and another group. So to create an offset of those points, we hit PT offset points. That's written there. And then I'm going to offset it fixed, but you can change the distance method or the distance. Let's do the default for now. So select the point, select the base surface, and you can see it created an offset version of that grid point. So we can try another option. Delete PT offset points. Distance method, let's do, you can do point attractors, you can random. Let's do random for now. And then minimum distance, maximum distance. Okay, let's just keep it at the default. And then I'll select this, base point. So if you can see now, let me hide the surface. It's sort of randomly shifted. It randomly shifted the second grid slightly, which you can do, which is kind of nice. So this is fixed directly offset, and this is a little bit random. So I've already shown you these are the presets. So if you select again, add edges, you'll get this. Add faces, add solid. So faces, of course, are individual surfaces. And if you say add solid, it's a whole volume. And these are the various options that you can select for a 3D preset from Rhino. So for fun, let's use this random one that I just created. Copy it over here. And let's add, let's say PT panel 3D. And the pattern, let's use box 3D so you can see what it does really well. Add faces. No, let's just add some edges. No faces. Select first paneling grid. Select second paneling grid. So as you can see, let me select that and move it so you can compare the two. It distorts the grid a little bit because we've changed the top grid ever so slightly. So you can see there's a slight distortion pattern, and this one is offset outwards on the radius. So you can play with the different presets to see what they'll do. Now, then there's PT custom and PT custom variable in the 3D. And of course, like 2D, you need to draw your own custom pattern. So here I've just taken two cylinders and intersected them and booleaned them together. And so I'm going to use this random grid because I want to see the distortion pattern. So I'm going to go type PT panel 3D custom. And then I'm going to select first bounding grid and second bounding grid. And then select two bounding surfaces. If you just hit enter, it'll just select what's there. And then it says select objects. So I'm going to select this. Enter, done. I'm going to keep it at the default, Shift 1, 5, 5. This should be exactly 5, actually. Okay. So let me hit enter. Calculating. So let me see. Select. So this is from the regular grid and this is from the random grid. Let's render it just so we can compare. So if you look at this grid, the one on the right is perfectly aligned, and then I shifted the grid ever so slightly to random. So there's slight distortion on that grid. So when the pattern loads into this grid shape, it's going to deform following that randomness. Go back into shaded view now. So you also have the option of doing a PT panel 3D custom variable. And this, because it's a little bit heavier in the 3D mode, it's going to ask you, instead of creating necessarily being able to scale it by itself, you actually need to provide different sizes. So let's try PT panel 3D custom variable. And it says select a first bounding grid. So I'm going to use this one again. Select second one. And it says list distribution and point attractors. So everything I'm leaving in default group, yes. So it wants a point attractor. Select point attractor. I'm just going to, instead of drawing one, I'm just going to select one point from this grid. If you do this, the tricky thing is you have to remember which one you picked. So you just have to remember that, which can be easy to mix it up. That's why I draw it separately. Let me just pick this one. And then it says select module 1. So I'm going to select module 1. And then it's going to ask for a bounding space. I'm going to select it, this. Then select 2, bounding space. Select 3, bounding space. Then enter. And then if you can see, I'm going to compare the two. So this is with a distorted grid. I'm going to turn off the ISO curves and properties so you can see the form better. It's using the point attractor, it organized these 3 sizes that I drew, large, medium, small. Closest one to the point attractor is largest, furthest one away is smallest, and then it deformed it slightly based on that grid. This is all even, the 2 grids are just opposite, and that one's deformed.